Hey guys, so welcome to our third Fireside Chat with Artists, a new series where we talk about anything and everything crypto and art. Joining us today, we have a very special guest from the Twitter whale to the dumpling emoji, Disney Shanghai Mickey Mouse to Conan O'Brien's Pale Whale. Yiying Lu creates iconic designs and brands which transcend the linguistic barriers, unite people, and enchant audiences around the world. Yiying Lu is an award-winning artist, entrepreneur, educator, and bilingual speaker. She was named a Fast Company's Most Creative People in Business, Microsoft's Top 10 Emerging Leader in Innovation, and a Shorty Awards winner in design. She has been featured in the New York Times, Forbes, Bloomberg's Fast Company, The Atlantic, NBC, Time, and more. And I'm incredibly honored to have this chance to have what will be an awesome conversation with you, Yiying. So thank you so much for joining us and spilling your knowledge with the community. And let's get this started. So, yeah, how are you doing?
Thank you for having me, Annissa. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, that's great. So, if for people who don't know you or would like to get to know more about your art, perhaps could you give like a brief introduction on, the inspiration behind your art and maybe showcase some of the pieces that you've done so far?
Sure. I thought it would be like a live interview. Like, how was it
Oh,
when you're growing up?
got it.
No, I think it's every single thing I do in a way is life is work. To me, there's no distinction, and it's incredibly um, special for us to connect this way. I mean, even though I haven't seen you in person yet, and I haven't seen any of you that in front of the camera in person yet, there is this innate connection, like literally and
Mhm.
metaphorically, right? You gotta have the connection to watch
Yeah.
the video. But to me, it's just really wonderful to use this time to connect with people and talk about the importance of art. And I'm happy to share with some of the things that I have done in the last however years it is. One of the things that I think I always interested in to talk about is the whale that I did somehow eventually became the Twitter fail whale. A lot of people know about, but not everyone knows about the background story, how it came about. And also, I'd like to really kind of share the story from the creator perspective. And I think this is the whole reason why we're doing this interview is that there can be a chance for the original person who came up with the artwork to have a voice. And this is something I am very humbled and also very grateful to be able to have the opportunity to be my own curator,
Yeah.
to share my story with each one of you in front of this video. So, um, yeah, I'll be happy to share a little bit about the history of how I did the whale and also how amazing it is. Art can be a way to connect with global audiences. So let me just share the screen right now. I don't know if you can see it. Ah.
Yes. Yes, I can see the screen. I can see the problem has been detected screen.
That's right.
Oh,
I usually start my story from this screen, I guess, just to see people's reaction. It's always
oh,
fun.
I love it. I love it.
I wish I could see your expression in real time. But
Yeah.
the funny thing is, in a way, I think my work has been initially how I entered the sphere of technology community, or like how I engage with the global community. In a nutshell, was because of the arrow page. In some way, it's similar to the blue screen of death of Microsoft in some way.
Mhm.
I think the whale that I made eventually became the Twitter fail whale. So the story goes, I was a young graduate in Australia, Sydney. This is probably around 2006 or 7. I finished my exchange study in London at Central St. Martin's, and I was really missing my friends that I made in London. And I was born and raised in Shanghai, China. I studied in visual communication in University of Technology, Sydney. So I moved from Shanghai to Sydney in 2002, and I started my degree in visual communication, and I got a rare opportunity to study in Central St. Martin's in 2006. So when I finished my exchange study, that was around 2006 or 7, I really miss my friends that I made in UK, and also my high school friends and primary school friends in China. So, and at the time, as you know, social media just kind of came about. Twitter, Facebook, it was like this very optimistic time. And also MySpace, don't forget that. So you get like email, you get like Hotmail from your friend and invite you, or MSN, if you still remember, and QQ in China. So you get like lots of invites to go to their physical events like birthday ceremony or graduation ceremony or even weddings. And so I wouldn't be able to physically be there in person because I was living in Sydney, New South Wales. Pun not intended, but somehow it's relevant. So when I was back in Sydney, I just thought, well, I needed to figure out a way, like instead of just writing on people's Facebook wall, I couldn't make it, or email them and say I couldn't attend your, graduation ceremony or birthday party. Why don't I just create a piece of artwork? Because what I study is visual communication. And I always believe that visual, especially colors and shapes, it's a super language and it transcends the linguistic barrier. So I thought, well, this is what I study. I needed to practice this. And I wanted to also use what I learned from school and apply it to real life. And so I kind of decided to do this. And I call this, the original name is Lifting a Dreamer, because in reality, we perceive whale doesn't fly usually. And I think that's really what's really amazing about art. It gives us a new perspective and allow us to reframe our reality, and things that seemingly impossible in our so-called reality could become possible, could become a possible experience through art. And that's what I kind of initially had that moment of realization. I wanted to almost making an impossible dream come true. And that was the initial reason why I created this. And I call this Lifting a Dreamer. And I was just sending it out as a personal art piece to my friends around the world, that I couldn't be there in person with them, but my wish for their birthday party or for their graduation is so humongous. It's so massive. It's like this gigantic whale. So the whale, the initial metaphor of the whale is just very heavy wish, very big, good amount of good vibes that is so heavy that we have little birds carry it around the ocean for you. And so that was the original story of the whale. And there was this teeny tiny little startup that's also happening around the same time in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. And there's a lot of people on it. And because it's a small startup, they have people working around the clock. I think at the time it was less than 20 like employees overall. So it's a lot of users. It got very popular in a very short time of frame. And so people like really love that service. And so the service is over capacity a lot. And so serendipitously, the co-founder of that startup, Bitstone, and that startup later on, at the time is already called Twitter. And I had no idea that, when Bitstone licensing this art piece from me, eventually it will become such a big internet phenomenon. Because, in a way, I think it's, I I think that's the beauty of life, right? There's so much mystery and unknown, that unknown territory you get into. And sometimes when you kind of get into that space and you had no idea. And I think um, that's how my journey began, and without even knowing. So yeah, so what's really interesting is in the following years, I think probably in the same year, people started to really respond to that illustration. So every time when Twitter went down, people will see the art, and so you have all these amazing users from around the world. um, this is actually Beyond TV Scope. He's a real Lego spaceship designer, and he also made this. And yeah, I never met him in person, but we've connected on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook. So we communicate via virtual land. And it's also really amazing to see Singapore government actually license it for the public transit. There's just really amazing creative response that coming out of the original art piece. And that's what sort of got me very interested in questioning what art can do in combination with technology. And also, obviously, it's it's a language that I happen to speak, and somebody love it so much. And this is actually a critter from um, Florida. He tattooed it on the leg.
Wow. Wow. That is dedication right there.
Thank you. Yeah, it's it's pretty surreal for me to see what has happened in terms of in terms of global response towards one piece of artwork that I created. But it's also a very humbling experience, because obviously it wasn't something I anticipated when I first created this. But in a way, it's also amazing how I was able to connect with all these people. Even some of them, I've never met them in person. We actually connected in a way on a virtual land. And that was very kind of like a liberation. Like, you don't have to travel to meet these people. You meet them on the ethereal sort of realm, right? You kind of communicate. It's like when you read a book, you don't get the chance to see the author, but you kind of communicate with that person on the ethereal level, because there's certain resonance that's there.
Right.
And yeah, and I just think it's so beautiful.
I mean, it's just, how did your friends react after, them receiving this email and then, years later just being, you know what, I'm actually on Twitter now, so there's that. And you see like all these awesome people just, recreating your artworks, and it's just crazy. I mean, it's an insane story. Do the people like from Twitter from the beginning, did they know about this, or the true meaning, or how it came to be this fail whale?
It took me a while to really kind of get the chance to slowly talk about my story, because if you think about it, this is also interesting. I'm going to go back to the original page, but if you think about it, when I originally started this, I'm just going to show the original illustration. When I originally started this, this is the original illustration, and it was also kind of serendipitous that I was using turquoise color and a very vivid sort of tangerine, burnt orange as the contrast. And in a way, I think a lot of my friends, because a lot of my friends are from different parts of the world, and some of them using Twitter, some of them don't. And I guess what friends' response, like especially like folks I went to school with, whether it's in UK or Australia, um, it's pretty amazing to hear from them. They said, "Oh, I just saw this and it reminded me of you." And in some way, I think what's really wonderful is the artwork that we create also has a personal connection.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people look at, even I made the dumpling emoji or the
Mm-hmm.
boba emoji, it's interesting and it's really heartwarming sometimes when people say, oh, I'm just sending a dumpling emoji and I'm thinking of you. And yeah, I think it's really cool that in some way the work you do could play a part of somebody's life and become the way they use or they express themselves. I think the whale was kind of interesting as a token of connection. It's an invitation of connection. When I came to US for the first time in 2009, I already had an amazing community, even though hundreds of people, I've never met them before, but we have communicated online. And we already established that relationship in terms of this friendship or understanding or similar interest. And so when we meet offline, it's just a very natural sort of, it's a very natural extension of what we already have talked online. And I thought that was really beautiful. In some way, I think the modern technology plus art could create a community that is so supportive. And
Right.
even though you're not growing up with those people, you don't share the same cultural background. There is this beautiful acceptance and like we kind of see each other in a way that won't be able to occur, let's say 20, 50 years ago.
Right. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, and I know that you also use quite a few animals in your artwork as well, and I feel like that could be a way to connect with people too, right? I mean, like when I just saw the fail whale, I got the general gist of it. I got understood the idea, but I never like after hearing that story that you just shared, it's so heartwarming to me. Like I'm actually getting chills right now because it's just so powerful, you know? The sense that it was because in the beginning it was your want or your wish to go see your friends was so much that it's like that whale kind of represented that wish, that hope, and it's just yeah, it's very touching. But I love to talk about how you use other animals into, and I like even in other interviews that I've read on or watched. I heard that you use the word bridging the gap a lot.
Yeah.
So like how do you use animals and things like that to bridge the gap between people or from humor, from business, from how do you do that?
So for me, I think it's interesting, and I like to kind of show and tell, like, because I think the work that I do in a way is a extension of who I am,
Hmm.
and in a way, I think it's expression. And if you think about it, it's interesting that everything around us. I just had this realization this morning when I woke up. I look around, like all these objects around me in the room, it was a object that somebody had idea of and they made it into the real world. Think about it.
Mm.
Every single object, um, even the nature, like the plants, it's it's in a way like you're co-creating with the universe, right?
Mm.
And somebody decided to put it into a form. Like I have this beautiful lotus flower. It's a little rose quartz, and somebody carved it
Mhm.
into a lotus flower. And I was just admiring, like it was like, oh my God,
That's really
I
nice.
had I had a moment of just a moment of appreciation, and every single object, like this bottle of fragrance, it's all designed by someone. Someone had an idea. And so giving back to the work I do, I think often when we live in a life that we're on a constant treadmill of pursuing different things, whether it's money, fame, or just something that can make ourselves feel a little bit better. Um, we tend not to have that permission of just kind of sit and appreciate like
Yeah.
what's happening around you.
I know, yeah. It's kind of like people are desensitized in a way because like especially the Hong Kong and like the Asian culture, right? It moves so quick that people kind of live in this bubble. It's like, people are so, they're focusing on what's in front of them. But a lot of the times it's because of that. And that could be a job, your career, things like that, but you just forget the bigger vision of things, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think this is what I have been working on and what art can do in terms of coming in as a way to bridge the gap between things.
Mhm.
And I want to kind of share a little bit visual here because I always like to talk and speak in visual.
Mhm.
Um, and I have this overarching theme. And by the way, this is not available yet, just so you know. I want to just to kind of share the project that I've been working on, and one of the project I wanted to work on more, and I've been working on all sorts of different topics like animal. And before I was really kind of diving into the NFT space, I was working. Well, I'm still working with some of the biggest global brands from Disney to Microsoft, and I give classes in different places, but my heart is in education, and my passion is to be able to be the bridge between a lot of different things. Um, and I give a talk. I think I'm very, very glad that you get the chance to see it last week, and we will release the video potentially in the next couple of weeks, so that everybody will be able to see how I was using art to embrace community. But the way that I look at the bridge is a metaphor, and I really love metaphors. I think it's the best way to communicate, and it's the best way to make sense of everything. And it's probably the simplest way to connect with people on a very user-friendly level. And so if you look at the illustration that I create, this is San Francisco. I lived in Sydney for almost 13 years. So I also call Sydney home as well. And I do
Mhm.
miss the beautiful city, the landscape, and the people and the food a lot.
Of course, the food.
Um, yes.
What foods are in Sydney that actually, because I've been once, but it was when I was really young, so I don't really know much about the Sydney culture.
Oh my gosh. There's so many food in Sydney that's amazing. Like just on top of my head, I think that if you look at Sydney, it's a very much like a melting pot, and it has all kinds of different culture. What I love about it is you can have some of the best dim sum from Sydney.
Really?
I really, really love the pie. So Sydney is also very famous for their pie. Um, their meat pie with like green pea on the top and gravy. That was their famous dish. It's called Harry's pie, and Sydney is also very famous for their dim sum, surprisingly, right?
Mm.
Because there's also a lot of Asian immigrants coming to Australia early in the days. And so Sydney has a very young and vibrant Chinatown. It's actually not that young, but it looks very modern in comparison with San Francisco's Chinatown or London or New York's Chinatown. So it's a very interesting blend of sort of traditional and like you have really beautiful architecture. This is St. Mary Cathedral. I drew that purple sort of cathedral. And also you have Circular Quay, which is beautiful. The rocks, they're like old school, more European architecture. And you will be able to have some really great fish and chips over there. But you also have like amazing Italian immigrants, like in some of the suburbs in the inner west. My favorite, some of my favorite places actually is the Italian community. They have really great pizza, obviously,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, and on the other hand, you also have Japanese community. You have really great ramen noodles. and Wagyu beef. So it's really, really hard to pick. And Arabic community as well. I think you might have some of the best kebab. I remember I had like my first time I had shish kebab, my mind got blown. I was like, oh my God, this is like the best thing. Yeah, it's just like kebab was, yeah, I think kebab changed my life.
I think we could have a whole conversation just on kebab alone. Because it's the flavors, they explode. They really
Yeah.
do.
We were initially talking about like, you know, architecture and building, but it comes down to the food. Yeah, the food is amazing. Like and the coffee. Because I think Australia was also an immigrant country. So there's a lot of Italian community, European community came after the war or during the war. And so it's not surprising that Australia actually has the best coffee ever. I took it for granted because I came to Australia after I finished my high school. Mm-hmm. So I remember like when I also did a 1-year foundation year study at UNSW, which is University of New South Wales. And I remember like the only thing I can really remember, I mean, the school was amazing, the teacher was amazing, but the thing I still remember today was they had these buildings and they have like square house and round house. And in between these buildings, there's this little tiny kind of a tiny shop, and it was run by Italian grandmas, and they have homemade pastas. And I remember the first time I had white mushroom sauce pasta and pesto with like basil and chicken. I think my mind got altered. I was like, oh my God, it was so good. It even to this day, like even just like recall like how I had like the creamy mushroom and the basil leaf and the smell, just the texture with the dough. And I couldn't help but just have like, I was like, this is why we're living.
Exactly. This is the point. This is the point of life right there.
That's mean, right. Yes.
I feel like every time we talk, like I just get so hungry. I remember the first time we were just bonding over this love for Chinese cuisine, and you sent a photo of the Chinese ramen with like sausages and egg, and I just looked at that picture and said, Yiying, you cannot do this to me. It's 3 a.m. in the morning. I cannot do this right now. I saw it and I just know. But you knew exactly what you were doing. It's perfect. Oh.
Thank you. I can go on. I can go on and talk about chicken schnitzel and all that. So I'll leave it there.
Yeah, but then I mean, going back to food, right? I mean, in a lot of your pieces, you also put food there, which is amazing. And I remember we had this conversation before, and it was that, you know, food is one of the things that connects people the most, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now. Yeah. And, you know, and even when we're talking about the desensitization of people not like caring about anything else or just losing that connection, but with food, it's different because not only do you need it, but it tastes so freaking good, you know? And so, you know, yeah, please like tell us about all the amazing food the Chinese culture has to offer.
Oh yeah. I mean, the thing is, like a lot of times I guess it's interesting how we look at things and thinking this is from a particular region, right? When I designed the dumpling emoji, I had to do a lot of research, and I needed to come up with a dumpling that is relatively universal, but still representative of Asian cuisine, but it's also representative of global cuisine. And the thing that and I know it's pretty late there, and I know you might get even more hungry when you see all these pictures, but Yeah, I think it's a gift, right? It's a gift. It's a sensory gift. And the way that I look at it, I think it's amazing that when I create the dumpling emoji, I had to do a lot of research. And what's really fascinating is really get to know these food from different cultures. And I realized like dumpling, even though when you say dumpling, the immediate thing people think about, it's Asian cuisine. It's from China, it's from Japan, like gyoza or like all these different sort of association you have. But if you really look at it from a global lens, it's actually a very universal food. Like Georgia has khinkali, Japan has gyoza, Italy have ravioli, pierogi, empanadas, so on and so forth, and momos. And so the way that I think what's really amazing about food, it's a great way of uniting people, and it's also a piece of art. If you think about it, it's an edible art, and that is something I also have been sort of striving on, kind of advocating for that culture, the food culture, and it's in a foundational senses. Food culture is the culture of human invention or human spirit. It's a probably the most accessible way of another culture or another country.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't get the chance to travel to Middle East while you're in Hong Kong or you're in Tokyo or you're in Africa, it doesn't matter. You can have a kebab, and the flavor, the spice will take you there. Like I always wanted to go to India in the way that I think it's like the food is calling you, and you have the curry and you're like, oh my god, I feel like I'm already on a plane and oh, I'm already there. um and I love pho. Like pho is also one of my favorite to go like comfort food. And because of pho, I always want to go visit Vietnam. This is like, yeah, I love pho. I love pho. I always say to my friend, like, can you recommend some phenomenal places? Because girls just want to have pho.
True. Did you make all these puns yourself?
Yeah, I think partially. Like I am very like again, a lot of times the pun comes to me. I don't make them. I think they just come and find me and they want me to express them. That's how I look at it.
I wonder if one day there were like I don't even think I've seen any art pieces or NFTs on faux art or faux puns or
Oh,
food.
it's gonna happen. I'm gonna make them. This
Yeah,
is
you
my
have to.
my life mission. I like honestly, like if anything, I have all these different projects I want to do. The number one project, obviously, is food, because I love food, and I already started to like create all these food emojis, and now the next level is I want to do food like collectible food NFT. That would be really interesting.
Mhm.
And the other thing I do want to do, and I've been doing it around the same time, is actually connecting with real food vendors. And in some way, I want like like a portion of the proceeds that I have to educate people, to like work with chefs and work with restaurants and helping them to bring more business, because it's really a hard time for any businesses in like COVID time, right? So that's something I think it's an extra responsibility. Well, it's not really extra. It is just a
Mhm.
responsibility that I think as artists or anyone, I think you gotta look after your community, and those are the people who feed you. Think about it. Like if all the small businesses are gonna go out of business, like where is the culture? There's no culture in the city anymore. And so that's basically something I think that, it's something I just feel that is innately important. And that is also something I wanted to encourage all the other artists and business owners to try to think about, how can they not only making sure that they do what they do very well, but also what they do can also help the community as well.
Hmm. Because I understand that, in even in Chinatown, or in San Francisco, or even just anywhere, for that matter, a lot of businesses are family run, are family
Yeah.
owned, and so there's history, there's a story behind it, and so you're right in promoting that, get to know the people who actually serve the food, all that, because there's so much culture and history behind it. There's a story behind it that it would be a shame for people to miss.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm really glad that you mentioned about the small businesses. And this is something I did. I've been doing this sort of. Um, it, to me, like it's just something I do. It's part of my life, and it's also my work. When I moved to San Francisco 5 years ago, initially I was moving here because I was working with so many startups, and I joined 500 Startups, which is a VC firm which has invested in thousands of companies around the world. Initially, I thought that my life mission, was bridging the gap between art and tech,
Hmm.
because of the whale.
Hmm.
And also, I worked with so many corporations, and art itself as marketing and branding medium, it
Hmm.
has bring it has bought a lot of commercial values towards all these companies, and also it bought a lot of cultural values to the companies as well. But what I didn't sort of realize in the first place is that um, how my art actually allowed me to see that there's another even bigger mission here, which is to be the bridge between the business and the culture, as well as being born and raised in Asia and being an Asian like descent,
Hmm.
is how I can use my art to help not only the global community, but specifically helping also the minority community that's in San Francisco Bay Area, specifically on a geographic basis. So this is in 2019, last year. My very good friend Mabel Huang, who also is working at Airbnb as the global Asian Act lead, so she contacted me. We became friends also because of the art I did for another nonprofit called Global SF. And so she and I, we met at the event. Also, she was attracted by the art, and we kind of started to talk. And she later on mentioned to me a few months later, she said, "Hey, we are creating an event to help local communities." Airbnb was really wonderful that wanted to give resources to support local communities, especially the mom and pop run shops. And they need a campaign art for the event. So it's called the Asian Night Market during the API month, which is the Asian Pacific Islander month, Heritage Island. So um, they were able to invite more than, I think, 50 different vendors from different restaurant owners and dancers and singers. And it's really amazing and stand-up comedians, magicians. And these are local mom and pop shops that sells just all these delicious dumplings or finger food, and it was just so amazing. It's like a street fair inside the Airbnb headquarter. So one of the thing I think what was really amazing is she contacted me. She said because it's all volunteer based. Like all these people who are running these events are Airbnb employees who just donate their spare time to put this event together. And 1,000 people showed up. Everybody had a great time, but they need a graphic. They need a branding art for the event. So she said, "Would you be able to help?" And I said, "I would absolutely love to do that." And so I was using the red panda as the main character, or the spoken character for the
Hmm.
event, because I was also very into biodiversity conservation, and I love animals growing up. But also one thing I realized, I'm kind of a nerd. I do a lot of research, and I know like things that people don't usually know, like wombat. The wombat. They
Yeah.
have cubic poops, or yeah, I just happen to know all these really interesting fun facts. Like the mantis shrimp can see like millions of different colors. And also the red panda, there's less than 10,000 of them living on the earth, and they're highly endangered, and they're really cute. But they are also, if you don't know, if you use Mozilla Firefox, so Firefox is not a fox. Firefox is actually a alternative name for red panda. So I have all these really kind of like a fun facts that I just kind of needed to let out someday. But yeah, I think one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to advocate for these animals. And they're super cute. And it's just so much fun to draw them as well. So I basically sent this idea to Mabel. I said I wanted to draw this because she's also, it's really great because it's all volunteer based. So I have absolute creative freedom to create something that I wanted, but it's also in conversation with the team who are all volunteer working on this project. So we basically going back and forth on text, and also she does like her Slack group in the team. So we basically use the art to feature all these different small business owners that in the San Francisco Bay Area, as well as some of the API hosts on Airbnb and API performers. Also, we were using this as an opportunity to support nonprofit. And this is the team that was volunteer working on this wonderful event. And in the end, I also give each one of them a little token of appreciation, which is the print of the red panda. And so in some way, I think that's what I wanted to do, and I have been doing continuously, which is using art as a vehicle to bring people together. And this is also after the event. I did another event at Apple Union Square where I also share my story with everyone. And in the meantime, I have Adobe, because I was also working with Adobe Fresco team, which is a new drawing app that's available on people's uh, iPads or other mobile devices. So this was also the first time I also get the chance to teach people from little kids to. So I made my bridge available as a kind of a wireframe, and also working with the Apple team to showcase the Fresco drawing app, which is an amazing app that has watercolor and oil painting functionality that's kind of first available on a mobile device. And so you see little kids like Race. This is Race, who's 6-year-old, who draw his very first drawing on an iPad. And it's just super exciting to see kids would come up with their own creations. And this is also the more like adult team. And it's just really wonderful to see people who are working in tech also get the chance to create, to see people unleash their creativity. People kind of take some time off from work to getting in touch with their creative self. So these are all work from the audiences. And I love this tweet from Claire. Says you don't have to be an artist to enjoy drawing and be creative. Creativity is for everyone. So this is kind of where I really am passionate about, which is being the bridge between these educational events with corporations like Apple and Adobe, and being able to give this integrated experience for people. And similarly, I think it was really wonderful to work on the Red Panda project, where I was able to use my art to help small businesses to connect with more audiences. And that is going back to, sorry, I lose my voice a little bit. And so this is kind of like going back to this project I'm working on right now, which is the the project that I'm actually literally we're launching today. This is such an exciting time. So I'm launching this project with Nifty Gateway, and I want to kind of share with you the different red panda versions. This is also something I'm super excited to share with everyone here. This is Nifty Gateway. So basically, this is the whale with the dumpling. And then this is the infinity panda holding an infinity sign. There's only one of the whale available. I think there will be two panda available. And then there's the koala. We're gonna give a little bit tribute to Ozzy. And then we have all kinds of different red panda with the bling bling dumpling, the taro. This is the matcha. And the Chinese food, which is the noodle that I send you in the middle of the night. And the fortune cookie and the classic boba. There is the sort of more classic version of the dumpling, and also the rainbow color boba tea. There you go.
And I see it looks like the picture behind you with the infinity panda.
Yes.
Is that it's beautiful. Was that the inspiration for the one on Nifty Gateway?
Well, I love panda. I'm such a big fan of panda. I love the red panda as well. I think the giant panda, obviously everybody loves it because it's endangered, but most people don't know the little red panda is also endangered. But I love the giant panda because, I mean, it's so universal, right? It's black, it's white, it's also Asian, it's also indigenous. So and it's very friendly. It kind of has it's very calm, and I think the Kung Fu panda definitely also shows a very different side of the panda. The panda can also do Kung Fu too. To me, I think it's just a great way to honor my heritage because I was born and raised in China, and I would love to create something that is uniquely me, but it's also very much global. It's very much, it can relate to anyone from anywhere. That's seemingly a paradox, but I do believe there's a way to achieve it, which is through the art that I create. Because even though I was born and raised in Shanghai, China, but Shanghai, the city itself, is a very global city. It's basically similar to Sydney, similar to Hong Kong. It's kind of a melting pot. And there's a lot of history, and there's a lot of just a lot of stories in the city. And somehow, I wanted to figure out a way to retell the stories or recapture the story through the work I do. And yeah, there's always like something we have in common with everyone, and I want to find that commonality that brings us together. And I think food and animal is just a very fun start to have.
I agree. And also just, what kind of brought you into NFTs in the first place?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. So I actually did a really fantastic experiment in 2018. I don't know if I can find the slides, but I will just tell the story. In the meantime, I'm trying to find the actual PowerPoint presentation. So the way that I did it, initially, it was 2018, and I was very much interested in figuring a way to put value on art, just art itself, because I feel that working with so many corporate company in the last more than 10 years now, art or design has always been a servant for business. If you think about it, right? Commercial art, advertising, in some way, people who are working in copywriting, people who are working in PR or even journalism, a lot of times we write stories about others. we write stories about this particular product. And so writing or even creating visual art or creating um, advertisement is a way to sell the product. And so part of the thing that I've been always wanting to do is, can we make art just for the sake of art? I've heard so many stories, like just talking to people who are like top marketers. And I asked them, okay, so if you don't need to think about money at all, what would you like to do? If you don't ever needed to worry about pay your rent and bills, like you have all the money you needed, what would you like to do? And often I hear people say, I want to write my own book. I want to write a novel. I want to perform at a play. And so you ask them, like, in the end, the answer you got is they want to just make art for the sake of self-expression. And so I thought that is so ridiculously true, but it's also incredibly sad that we're almost not giving ourselves permission to self-express because we think that we have the need to continuously working on things in order to serve for others. Don't get me wrong, I love serving for others and I love working with corporations and businesses, and this is my passion as well. But sometimes you just have to do something for yourself. Sometimes you just have to allow yourself to be with yourself and create something just for you, or make something just for you. And often we don't have that luxury, or we don't give that permission. We think it is a luxury, like even the way that I say it, right? We don't have that luxury. No, it's not a luxury. It's a choice. Let me rephrase what I just said. It's not a luxury. It's a freaking choice. It's a choice that's always there, that we fear to have that choice. And so I just decided, you know what? I wanted to have that choice. And I've been always wanted, and I'm gonna act on it. So, so I've been trying to find this medium that could just allow me to see if I could just make art for the sake of making art, for the sake of self-expression. Can I do that? Sure, there's people already doing that in the past. Fine art people, for example, we have Picasso, we have, Georgia O'Keeffe, we have Dali, we have Andy Warhol. But the way that the traditional art museum, the structure is very much a structure or relationship that is something that is almost unreachable to most of the artists that are young and they have so much to give. And this is where I think blockchain technology, when I first heard about blockchain technology, this is in 2018, it fascinates me. And it's a technology that I have been always dreamed can be existing. Because if you think about the whale pieces that I created in the past, like imagine every single time people adding on top of it, there is this chain. I can actually see how many people have seen the whale and also have react to the whale. It will be very fascinating, like to be able to have that almost like data. And the other really important part of the experiment is also seeing how much value art itself can create. Going back to our discussion on art has always been a way to facilitate business. It's a supporting role. It was never ever being the main character. It was never taking the stage and say, hey, make a movie about me as the art, right? It's always business and technology. And so I just thought maybe it's time to, change up a little bit. Maybe it's time to also shuffle the cards a bit and making sure that we have different voices around. At the end of the day, we're serving the same thing. And what if we could also show people that art itself has value. And this is also going back to my mission, which is, I was lucky enough to be in a family who are very supportive and believed in what I do, to choose to become a designer. I mean, think about it. Like, I love that I was having a conversation with Kathy Balbin, who is an amazing woman who is probably the very early Asian American women that growing up in America. And she was joking because her husband is an artist, and she was joking that no immigrant father will say to the daughter, marry an artist, right? She married an artist. And I was looking at my situation and thinking, no immigrant father, especially from China, would say to the daughter, please be an artist, right? And the thing that I thought it was interesting is choosing the path of being an artist or a designer. In a way, it's a huge decision, or I think it's also kind of risky to quote unquote follow your dream. I don't want to make it sound like a big deal, but it is something I made a very conscious decision to do. I mean, I obviously have pressure from family and friends and say, are you sure you want to be an artist? Are you sure you want to be a designer? And what if you couldn't find any job to pay your rent? And that is something that's always there. It's always in the back of my head. And it's interesting that regardless of all that, I take that leap of faith and I did what I choose to do. And it's not until I was meeting up with folks, especially young students and young professions from the Bay Area when I moved here. And so many of them working in marketing and even working in PR came to me and said, I wish that when I was growing up, my parents would know someone like you that made it in what you do, and showing people you can help a bankrupt company to have a $2 million turnover business just using art, because then they will allow me to take that art degree. And I have great friends who is a lawyer, and she said, we were actually becoming really good friends because she came to my Apple event, and we even had more events later on with other lawyers in the Bay Area doing like drawing sessions, right? And so we had a heart-to-heart conversation the other day, and she was telling me that she recalled back then she actually wanted to go to art school right after she finishing her high school study. And she was also very much in love with art, but eventually she chose to go to a law school, and you know why, as an Asian kid growing up in America. And it's not just because you're Asian. I think most of the family household want their kids to have a better future, a more secure future, a more sustainable future. And being an artist, being a creator, being a writer, being a musician, it was just never being perceived as something that could be sustainable or as something that is realistic. And I don't believe that. I think it's a choice that the society has been always making. We made believe that this is the only way to go. And it's a societal pendulum that is always swinging in that direction. But there's a way that we can swing back, and maybe somewhere in the middle. And that is the reason why I had to take a leap of faith. And I'm very grateful that I was, in a way, being guided to do what I do. And I have so many people, including yourself, and including all of you that is listening to me, even though I can't see you in person. And because of your support, I'm able to do what I do. And I hope that what I do in a very small way could allow more people to do what they want to do.
That is beautiful. Thank you. And that was an amazing answer as well. Um, I'm so glad that the blockchain and even NFTs now can help so many artists just, I guess, take that leap of faith easier as well.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, that I'm so glad you asked that question. And going back to the question, I didn't get the chance to kind of show you my first experiment was at the Ethereal Summit. This is 2018,
mhm.
and was working with the Codex people, and we had a fantastic auction. So I was very grateful that my piece was also the second highest bid after the crypto kitty. I was so
Wow.
like I was so relieved. You have no idea like how nerve-wracking it is to be in that space and hearing people like bidding on your work, because I was like, my worth should not attach with the work that I do. It's just so ridiculous. Like I remember I was listening there, and it's so cool that you see like the auctioneer is a female auctioneer, and these are the two lovely Jess and Corinne, who are the beautiful ladies behind the Codex team, and they were there. And I remember I heard the auctioneer like talk about my work, pronouncing my name right. I was like, she got it. Okay, I'm gonna go to the backstage. So I like run to the backstage. Like I was so nervous because I see people started to like bidding on the work. I was like, I don't want to see. I just want to go back, and I want to talk to other artists. And yeah, it's so funny because it's a very very strange experience if you see, and I still think it's something I couldn't really get past, how it is like when people are bidding your work, right? But yeah, in the end it was sold for a pretty great amount, and then we donate half of the proceeds to the Art and Blockchain Foundation. And I also get the chance to meet like the person who bid the work, became really good friends. It was really really wonderful. I was actually didn't anticipate. I met him very briefly before the bidding, and he has a podcast called Art on the Blockchain. So he was a new friend that I made at the event. And he said, I will be bidding on your work. And I'm like, you're joking. I did not like really anticipate that eventually like he would really wing the piece. But it was so amazing. I made so many friends at the event, including this is crypto graffiti. It was just wonderful to meet all the artists in person. And I was even hanging out with crypto graffiti in San Francisco and other artists friends, and subsequently meeting even more people. And so I really sort of appreciate the NFT space was able to allow me to connect with people in real life and allow me to kind of know these folks in person, and vice versa. This is the room full of people. I mean, it's kind of surreal to show you these pictures, like during COVID. Like, I don't know how long it's going to take for us to go back to what it used to be 2 years ago. But this is in New York in the Ethereal Summit. So I think what I'm trying to say here is that I think I'm really really grateful that NFT or blockchain is allowing me to hopefully show the world the true value of art, and also allow me to connect with more people, hopefully in real life as well, not only on the ethereal realm. And also, very importantly, I will be able to create more food related NFT so that we can celebrate food through art.
Yes, that is a must. Okay, so again, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and your love for food as well. I love every time we have a conversation. It's great because food is involved as well, which is very important. And my stomach was actually rumbling while we were talking. So that's that. But again,
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you for that. But again, I'm so very grateful to have you with us today. I can't wait for the drop today at 7 p.m. EST. I'm going to be keeping track. I might even go get a pack myself as well.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm just
We
really
made it
excited.
really affordable. We made it super affordable, and that's also something I wanted to do, which is I
Mhm,
wanted to make it super affordable. Because initially, like we were try to see like what's the best pricing. I was thinking like 88 because I
mhm.
love eight.
Yeah,
Um,
to remember,
and
yeah.
the team at Nifty Gateway was also very. They did a lot of research, and they want to make sure it's something that people will be able to afford.
Mhm,
We made it really affordable. We made it $60 a pack, so
mhm,
it's relatively more affordable. We also have 444 available. It's the number of awakening.
mhm,
Yeah, I'm just curious how this is going to go about, and this is also the first time I'm doing it. And what I wanted to do initially is also when I get the very first sales, I wanted to use the funds that I eventually receive for more art education program. So I'm also, as you know, I'm running a lot of educational program. I wanted to start like a podcast. Also, I wanted to do more videos to show people how to make art and also to give seminars. But it all takes a lot of effort and energy to create those content. So all the support that people are gonna give in terms of purchasing the art eventually is going to be going to my content creation. So that's also something I wanted to just put it out there. And if any of you is watching the video, if you are happen to be a expert of running podcasts or running video production, please do get in touch with me. Or if you're a musician, want art for your albums, or in the future, like I want to collaborate with musicians, I want to collaborate with writers. If you're publishing a book and you need some of the art for your books, please do like drop me a line. That is something I'm very, very interested in. I want to be able to use my art to support more artists. And then in the meantime, I'm also creating a bunch of art. I think I want to kind of share with you before we wrapping up.
mhm,
I'm also creating art to support for biological diversity. um, and I want to kind of share a little bit of the current creations. I think it's my favorite part is showing this. So I also made this logo design for the biodiversity for the United Nations Biodiversity Conference that's supposed to happen this year, but I think it's going to postpone to next year. But it was really wonderful that this is the Very Hungry Red Panda, as you know, but it was
mhm,
also very wonderful that I was able to receive a grant from Adobe, which is Adobe Creative Community Fund this year to support artists to create their project that they wanted. So as an extension of the Very Hungry Red Panda, I started to create more animals, including the endangered red panda. This is a polar bear. Um,
mhm.
and this is a giraffe, and this is the elephant. I actually have a new elephant. This is the old elephant. And it was also through these communication, I get the chance to know, like people say, elephants nose down in some places is not considered as lucky. So I have to redesign it to have the nose up, which I'll show you in the end. And then
Mhm.
this is the koala. This is the wolf. This is the clouded leopard and lion, and this is the whale shark. That's how I met my owner,
Wow.
by the way.
Really? When did you create that based on?
No,
Oh,
it was
okay, I was just.
yeah, it was completely serendipitous. So the International Whale Shark Day, I believe it was, I think it was the 22nd of October. On top of my head, I
Mhm,
have to go back to it. But so I created on the weekend, and it was so crazy because I was creating the whale shark around the same time I was creating the sloth. Did I show you the sloth? Yeah, yeah. So the sloth and the whale shark was created on the same weekend. But it was so amazing. After I created the whale shark, um, I got in touch with a friend of mine who is also very active in the crypto space, which is Miko Matsumura. So Miko initially introduced me with another group of friends who's working on a animal conservation project, which is try to save the rhinos that is endangered. Basically, they have this rhino project. They wanted to clone the endangered rhino who's already extinct, the northern white rhino. So Miko initially connected me with folks who are doing the rhino project. And in the meantime, Miko connected me with Alex from OpenSea. And so Alex was lovely. And Alex connected me with Whale Shark as soon as I was showing the Whale Shark piece to him. And he goes, hey, by the way, do you happen to know Whale Shark? I was like, what are you talking about? Whale Shark as a person? And he's like, yeah.
You must have been so confused.
Sorry?
You must have been so confused when they said.
Yes, I was really confused. I was really confused. I was like, yeah, I did drew a whale shark, but no, I don't know a whale shark. I have not met a whale shark in person yet. And he's like, no, whale shark on Twitter. And I was like, what? And then he sent me this Twitter profile, which is obviously Whale Shark's Twitter profile. I was like, whoa, this guy has really good taste. So I get a chance to talk to Whale Shark on Discord, and then Whale Shark was kind enough to introduce me to Nifty Gateway. So when Whale Shark said, hey, you should meet the twins from Nifty Gateway, I was like, what are you talking about? I was literally just checking out Nifty Gateway the day before. It was just so much synchronicity. And I really liked the way that Nifty Gateway was curating their work, and I was already interested. So when Whale Shark mentioned about the twins, which is also backed by another pair of twins, which is ridiculous. So I was like, okay, I mean, this is crazy. This is true, but yeah, I'm gonna jump. So that's how this whole thing started. And I also had a fantastic conversation with Whale Shark. We had a lot of value that's absolutely aligned. So I'm really excited to kind of do more events with the Whale Shark community, with the whale community, with all your audiences, your wonderful people in front of the video listening to us. Thank you for being here. I think it's all started from the Whale Shark. It's pretty incredible. That's the sloth, and that's the orangutan.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love orangutans.
I'm so glad I get the chance to share with you the work. And so these are not available yet. I will potentially make them available next year. But yeah, this is a ongoing project I'm working on, and I wanted to use these art to also advocate for endangered species, and allowing more people to appreciate just how beautiful the earth is. So yeah, I'm so happy that we get the chance to talk about this project, and I'm excited to see what the future holds, and also creating more art for the community, and also for everyone to see.
And same here. Again, I'm going to be dropping all the relevant links in the description below. And if you'd like to connect with Yiying, she's on Discord, and I might be able to drop her email down there as well. So if you want to reach out, if you're a music creator or if you do books and things like that, feel free. And so, yeah, again, thank you so much for coming and spilling your knowledge with the community. I'm sure everyone's going to love the video. And be hungry at the end of the video, which is the point, obviously, of this whole Fireside chat.
Yeah, for sure. I want to show you the elephant in the end. This is the new elephant.
Oh, yes. This is beautiful. I love it.
So much happier elephant.
Yeah.
It's actually really cool. It's a cool story. I might share next time when we do the next session. And then yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I am so excited to continue this wonderful journey with you all. And thank you, Annissa, to have me sharing with everybody. And hopefully we'll see each other again soon.
Yes, of course. Okay, thank you so much.
Have a good day. Take care. Bye.